Good, e- good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special Grit Live pre-race show. I'm Cubby Lambert from the Podium Finish, and with me is Joe Samniego. I'm sure you heard Kiska, the official Grit Network dog barking in the background. That kind of threw me off at the beginning. But be sure to comment in the chat box below. We'll answer all of your questions and display your comments on the screen. Tonight, we'll recap Daytona 500 qualifying from last night and preview the upcoming duels at Daytona later tonight. But first, let's start off with a serious developing story from Formula One. An Italian media outlet first reported that Alpine Formula One driver Fernando Alonso was struck by a car while cycling in Switzerland and taken to the hospital. This outlet also mentioned potential injuries that could put the start of his 2021 Formula One season and his return to Formula One on hold. The Alpine Formula One team released a statement shortly after this report surfaced, confirming that Fernando was indeed involved in a road accident while on his bike. Alpine said he's conscious, so really good news there, and he's waiting for further medical examinations in the morning. The team doesn't plan to make any further comment at this time, but we could have another update as soon as tomorrow morning on Fernando's condition. Motorsports journalist Andrew Benson from BBC reported that multiple sources close to Alonso said he suffered a broken jaw. But let me please remind you all, this is a developing story that will be following. I'm sure we'll have more details later on to share with you. And on behalf of everyone at Grid Network, we wish Fernando Alonso a speedy recovery.
We wish Fernando Alonso a speedy recovery. And just a reminder to everyone, as we're driving out there, be sure to be mindful of bicyclists, cyclists on the roads, on the sidewalks. We have to share the road. Encourage everyone to be safe. We also encourage everyone to participate in the chat room already. We're seeing some people sharing their prediction of who will win each race tonight. I know George right here has already predicted Stenhouse, Kurt Busch. Definitely encourage everyone, share your picks for tonight's race. And then, of course, if you have questions we'll answer your questions on the air to the best of our abilities and share your opinions as well. One of the things I'm going to start with is the front row for the running of the Daytona 500 that's coming up this Sunday, and it's going to be really exciting because as we predicted yesterday on Grid Tonight, Chevrolet took the pole, and indeed it was another Rick Hendrick Chevrolet, the number 48. Ally Financial Chevrolet, driven by Alex Bowman, won the pole for the 63rd run of the Daytona 500. This is Bowman's second pole in the Great American Race and fourth consecutive year on the front row. His teammate William Byron is in the number 24 Chevrolet. He'll join Alex Bowman up front. Really amazing just seeing, of course, Fox doing the coverage at Fox Sports 1. Just seeing how Bowman was essentially a mile per hour faster than his teammate. Really, that 48 Chevrolet was looking really good. Tell me, why are the Hendricks cars almost guarantee a pole or the front row every year for the Daytona 500?
Well, it really seems like Hendrick Motorsports spends a lot of time in the off season and putting in a lot of work in on their super speedway program, especially for Daytona 500 qualifying. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because their program for this particular race is just stronger than anyone else. And it's just really crazy that they've won so many poles in recent memory, and it had at least one car on the front row for the Daytona 500. And it's just always interesting to see, is this speed going to transfer over to the Daytona 500? I know in the last several years, for some odd reason, we've seen Hendrick cars get loose and spin out coming off of turn 4, and that's something that I really can't put my finger on. Never really understood why we always see Hendrick cars spinning off turn 4 at Daytona, but we definitely know that their qualifying program for the Daytona 500 is top notch, and I'm sure Bowman and Byron are going to take care of their cars tonight in the duels to make sure that they'll have a fast piece intact for the 63rd running of the Daytona 500.
A fast car indeed. The Chevrolets have always seemed to be really good at the super speedways, but definitely seems Rick Hendrick has taken it up to the next level. And one of the questions we have for all our viewers, tell us in the chat room, do you think Alex Bowman will win the Daytona 500? Yesterday, during the post-race media conference, the last pole sitter to win the Daytona 500 was 2000 Dale Jarrett. That's amazing. I know when Alex Bowman heard that, he wasn't exactly excited to hear that news, but it's definitely still exciting to lead the field to the start of the Great American Race. The other Hendrick cars, Chase Elliott was 11th fastest, Kyle Larson 15th fastest. Two surprises though in the top 10, 23-11. Bubba Wallace, he got in the top 10, and of course Trackhouse Racing, Dan Suarez piloting that team for Justin Marks and Pitbull, the musical artist. really surprises. And of course, Bubba Wallace was the fourth fastest overall and the top Toyota driver. Daniel Suarez, 10th in the car. So definitely we're seeing the 99 car starting up towards the front. But of course, it was qualifying. But the big thing is we have the duels though. Just qualifying for those drivers to keep those starting positions up front can serve as a little bit more momentum heading forward for the dual race tonight. Toby, when it comes to the race, essentially a little bit of momentum heading to the duels for tonight, especially after a good qualifying run. How does that transfer for tonight's race and Daytona 500?
Well, I definitely think it's a great thing for 2311 racing and trackhouse racing to start off on this foot, on a good foot, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering how these two teams would do, especially since they're brand new to the NASCAR Cup Series, and wow, just look at the names who are involved with these programs. 2311 racing, Bubba Wallace behind the wheel, and you have Michael Jordan. Denny Hamlin co-owners of that organization, in Trackhouse Racing, Justin Marks, who's well known in the racing community for racing in different disciplines, and also Pitbull as well. And we all know all of the great things that Pitbull has accomplished in his career. So it's really great to see these big names all entering the sport and all of that. And we know 2311 is aligned with JGR and TRD, so they're going to get some good equipment. And Trackhouse is aligned with Richard Childress Racing. So definitely they have some great equipment, and they showed it right there by posting a great qualifying speed. And I think it's going to take a while for these two teams to get in the full swing of everything, of being in the Cup Series and all of that. But I think once all of the pieces fall into place, then we'll definitely see a lot of great things from 2311 in Trackhouse.
And one of the things that was really interesting yesterday during the media conference, Bubba Wallace, when they asked him about, hey, you went out there and you outperformed Denny Hamlin, what do you got to say? His response, well, we beat the boss for the first time. So he's definitely feeling confident that he could go out there, outperform Denny Hamlin. The 99, I think that was a big surprise for a lot of folks, but of course we know they have good quality equipment. Justin Marks, Daniel Suarez, this could be a really great opportunity, especially after that frustrating year with Gaunt Brothers last year, to really rebound and show what he can do. Now, of course, along with that, the two fastest drivers, not chartered, were able to lock themselves in. And out of those, we saw Ryan Preece and David Reagan. We both correctly predicted that Preece was going to get in, that Hendrick Chevrolet power under the hood. But Austin Cindric, which a lot of us thought would be locked in, he was the third fastest. So Cindric, Kaz Grala, Ty Dillon, Garrett Smithley, Timmy Hill, and Noah Gragson must race their way in to the Daytona 500. We encourage everyone to chat room. Tell us who do you think will race their way into the Daytona 500. And speaking of Gregson, the Xfinity regular, he didn't even get a chance to put out a fast lap last night. Failed inspection 3 times and has to start at the back of duel number 2. Beard Motorsports is racing with a heavy heart this weekend, of course, after the passing of team over Mark Beard Jr. Gregson said that he already wants to drive the piss out of it when he was asked about driving this race car. And definitely, despite last night's setback, will Gregson be able to deliver on his promise?
Well, I think it's definitely going to be an uphill battle for Noah Gragson, since he must race his way into the Daytona 500. I know it was really disappointing for him not to be able to go out there and set a qualifying time, but but I know he said that he was gonna drive the piss out of that number 62 Beard Motorsports Chevrolet and put it in the show for Mr. Beard. And we've seen time and time again in situations like this where when you're battling a situation like this within a team, or if it's like within a driver's personal life, something going on, we see them get extra strength to rise above the rest. And this will be interesting to follow and see if Noah Gregson is going to be able to do this tonight.
Definitely see if he could be able to do it tonight. And just in case, Mark Beard Sr., I may have misspoken and said Jr., but it was Mark Beard Sr. who unfortunately passed away. One of the big things, as you point out, drivers, we've seen they overcome adversity with a strong race performance. One of the earliest ones I can remember was in 1998, after Mark Martin lost family members in a crash. He drove the wheels off that car, came really close to winning in Michigan. So definitely this is going to be a test for that team to focus, for Noah Gregson to really drive that car, starting from the back of duel number 2 is going to be a really big challenge for Noah Gragson. But I got a good feeling that he is able to. He is capable of doing so, and he has a good equipment with that team, and that team is extra motivated.
Yeah, especially given that the team has a lot of experience on the super speedways with Brendan Gaudin behind the wheel, so they definitely know what they're doing. And Noah Gragson is a young, talented driver who's running full time for JR Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I know he's going to be really hungry to make his Cup debut and put the number 62 in the show. And looking at Duel 1, Daytona 500 pole sitter Alex Bowman will lead the field to green. Next to him is going to be Eric Almirola, who led the way for Ford in single car qualifying. Last year's pole winner Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will line up third with JTG Doherty teammate Ryan Preece directly behind him in fifth. As we mentioned, Priest was able to make the race on speed, so he doesn't have anything to stress about tonight. However, we can't really say the same about the other open cars. And before I get to that, I want to mention what Ryan Priest was able to do last night. He has been one of the open cars. He was able to put in the Daytona 500. Then he left Daytona International Speedway and went over to New Smyrna Speedway to race his modified and ended up winning that race over there at New Smyrna. So definitely Ryan Priest had one busy but successful night, making the Great American Race and also scoring a modified win at New Smyrna. And in this duel, number 1, we have Austin Cindric, Ty Dillon, and Timmy Hill fighting for their Daytona 500 transfer spot. Cindric is lucky because he'll have the Penske cars to work with, such as Joey Logano and Matt DiBenedetto in a Wood Brothers Penske affiliated car. Ironically, DiBenedetto drives the iconic number 21 car that Cindric will take over full time in 2022. Ty Dillon and Timmy Hill are single car teams, so no teammates at all. Does Cindric have an advantage over the others?
It does appear he has that advantage. He could go over, get no shared data, all that. One of the big things, of course, Timmy Hill, the single car teams, they're going off whether it's from camaraderie with drivers they're good friends with, things from the past. If you're Austin Cindric, you could go out there, learn from essentially the Matt DiBenedetto, the Penske drivers. I know the Penske drivers didn't exactly have the greatest qualifying, but it's at the races where they always seem to show up. Yeah, the way things go, especially restricted play races, they don't exactly have to win totals. But remember, Ryan Blaney has won at Talladega. Of course, we've seen Keselowski win at Talladega. Logano, he has won the 500 before. Those are really good drivers to go to for advice.
Yeah, I definitely think Austin Cindric will have a little advantage over these two single car teams because he does have Joey Logano and Matt DiBenedetto right there with him. So if it comes to the end and Cindric's in trouble, he has two teammates who could drop back and draft with him and try to get him in that transfer spot. And I think Ty Dillon and Timmy Hill definitely might have an uphill battle, as I mentioned with Gregson, to get into the Daytona 500 because as we've seen time and time again, if you're a small single car team like those two drivers are driving for in the duels, we've seen time and time again where those teams always get hung out to dry in the draft. Like if they're running, we've seen some of these smaller teams make it towards the front of the pack, and then in no time they get shuffled to the middle and out of the lead draft. So it might be hard for those two drivers to find others who will be willing to work with them. And one driver making his return to NASCAR competition in Duel 1 tonight is Kyle Larson. Young Money rolls off 8th in his first race since last spring. Well know the story about his rapid fall from grace after using the N-word during an iRacing event, which led to his firing at Chip Ganassi Racing and an indefinite suspension from NASCAR. Now he's back in the NASCAR Cup Series with Hendrick Motorsports in the number 5 Chevy, a chance to turn the page and move forward with his life and racing career. It's been a while since he last raced a stock car. With that said, Joe, what should we expect from Kyle Larson tonight?
Even from Kyle Larson, there's two potential scenarios we could expect from him. The first one, he feels really comfortable in that car. Everything is just clicking and gelling to the point where he's going to try to race up front, gain the experience, especially now that he's in a Rick Hendrick Chevrolet powered vehicle compared to a Chip Ganassi vehicle. He's going to try his best to just go out there, get everything working, and essentially be up front, get a good starting spot for the Daytona 500. If he doesn't feel that comfortable, like, the car just not set up to his liking, drafting, a lot of times, even though it's a restrictor plate track, a lot of times you are just flat out. Still, there's a lot of ways the air could push that car around, maybe just to the point where he may falter back a little bit early on the race, just try to gain some of that knowledgeable experience of learning everything again because it's been such a long time, and then start to come towards the front, towards the end of the race. But I expect that the first way I mentioned, I think he's going to feel pretty comfortable and he's going to be up towards the front running.
I think tonight for Kyle Larson is going to be more so getting back into the swing of things. As I mentioned, it's been a long, long time since he's been in a stock car. You know, getting back to NASCAR racing after what happened last year. He found a lot of success on the dirt tracks. He was able to do well there, and now he's finally coming back to NASCAR on his road to redemption. So I think tonight's going to just be like hit all your marks. Yes, yes, I remember this, and this. And I think Kyle Larson is going to be perfectly fine. And I also think tonight should just be a night where you keep the car clean, try to get the best starting spot you can for the Daytona 500, and just simply go out there and have fun because it's been a while since Kyle Larson's been in the Cup Series, and I'm sure he's eager for this opportunity to drive for one of the top teams in the NASCAR Cup Series and prove to us the young talented driver that we thought he was before he left.
I was muted there. Definitely wants to go out there, prove to everyone that he still has the talent, the skills to be out there, and definitely continue turning a page in his career. And we encourage everyone to chat room. Be sure share your comments, opinions on the air through the chat room. We'd love to share them on the air, and definitely encourage everyone to participate. I see one person. Let's go. I think Cedric can get in, so definitely Gregson. What do we say? I think with Gregson, I think he could get in. It's going to be really hard. Kobe, you have any follow-up thought on Noah Gregson?
I definitely, like I said, I definitely think Gregson is gonna have a battle on his hands, especially being inexperienced with the Cup car. This is his first Cup race in this duel tonight, and and we know sometime inexperience does work against you. But hey, this is Daytona, and I know Larry Mack always says if your car can crank, you can go out there and win this race, and that's definitely true. If Noah Gregson can stay in the draft, make some solid moves, not get shuffled. I think he can definitely transfer, but like I said, he has a lot of things working against him right now. But it's certainly not impossible for him to make the Daytona 500. And I'm sure if he makes the race, all of the people that we working at Beard Motorsports and the Beard family, they're going to be really emotional and happy to make the Great American Race for Mark Beard Sr.
Yeah, it will be a big. It will feel like a big victory to get in, especially after the bad luck not being able to set any qualifying lap yesterday. Now, duel number 2, of course, that's going to be later on, and it has a really stacked lineup. We have Bubba Wallace there. He's starting up on the front row, representing 2311 Racing. We have Kevin Harvick starting third, trying to put at this point end to his dominant 2020 season behind him. And the defending Cup champion, Chase Elliott, he's rolling off fifth. Lining up along Chase Elliott is David Reagan at number 36. A lot of people didn't predict he would be able to make the race on speed. One of the open cars, of course, he shocked everyone yesterday. Can't go wrong with the Roush Yates power under that hood. Then Reagan has a long reputation of being one of the best in the super speedways and finished fourth in last year's Daytona 500. Now that he's locked in the race, Kobe, do you see Reagan being a dark horse contender in his one-off race, the Daytona 500?
Yeah, I definitely think when you come to these super speedway races at Daytona and Talladega, if you're looking for a dark horse that could potentially go to victory lane, look no further than David Reagan. I definitely think David Reagan could be a dark horse contender to win the Daytona 500. Look what he did last year. He finished fourth, so and we know he gave Front Row Motorsports their first win at Talladega. I believe it was several years ago. It was a really crazy race. I think we saw somebody flipping down the backstretch, and then it was about to get dark where people were worried the race was going to get suspended, and it was him and David Gilliland being able to take Front Row Motorsports to victory lane. I'm sure that's a special day that team owner Bob Jenkins will never forget. And I do think that David Reagan has potential to deliver once again for Front Row Motorsports and be a potential contender if he misses all the wrecks and he's in the right place at the right time when we get down to the closing laps of the Daytona 500.
That was a very big moment for Bob Jenkins and that team. If they were to go out there and win the Daytona 500, that would be huge for that team. Easily the highlight no matter what happens the rest of the year. Now, of course, with Reagan being able to sleep early because he is locked in, there are still three drivers in duel number two who are much more nervous. Kaz Gralla, Garrett Smithley, and Noah Gregson. They're all going to be fighting for that transfer spot in the Great American Race. Anything can happen, so you must execute the perfect race, avoid the mistakes, and hopefully not get wrapped up in somebody's mistake. Of course, the most common mistake we see is somewhere that big one, that huge crash is just going to take out a good number of vehicles. For the charter teams, well, that's a bummer. You got to go to the backup. It starts towards the back. But if you're in one of these open teams, it could mean the sad truth that you're not in the Daytona 500. And of course, with those accidents, the big thing is when you're where your opponent is running. How do you stay focused in such a high pressure situation like this, especially if you aren't in the transfer spot with a few laps to go?
Well, the best thing I can just say, I know it's easier said than done to those drivers, but please do not panic because it's not over until it's over. We could very well see them wadded up off turns 3 and 4, coming to the checkered flag, and you're out of the transfer spot, and one of the cars during the transfer spot gets wiped out in that, and then you miss the wreck and you go by, and then you're in the Daytona 500 like that. So I'd say if you're not in that exclusive transfer spot to make it into the race, with let's say 2 laps to go, but you're still in the elite draft and anything can happen in the draft. So I think the best thing to do is to stay calm and just do what you can. Whatever cards are dealt to you, and in the end, whatever happens happens. But I'm really glad that we're going to be covering this race tonight, Joe, and that we're not behind the wheel of one of these cars in an open car, because I'll be completely honest with you, I'd be extremely nervous.
I would be extremely nervous too. I mean, these are the best of the best when it comes to NASCAR racing. And just something else, one of the big things, of course, you got to make sure if you're in an open car trying to race your way in, if you're in the top 10, you know you're in a good spot, don't push it. Last thing, the charter car, they're locked in, you're not. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this all plays out tonight in the Gatorade duels.
Yeah, and looking at some of the clinch scenarios for tonight, Austin Cindric can make the race by simply being the top finishing open car in Duel 1. If the already locked in drivers of Ryan Preece and David Reagan finish their duels as the top open car, Cindric will still make the race because he can fall back on speed, being the third fastest open car. And this scenario would be absolutely marvelous for Kaz Grala, because he could transfer on qualifying speed if everything falls into place this way. However, the easiest way for the college racing drivers to make the races is simply bring it home as a top finish in open car in Duel 2. For the others, they kind of having that uphill battle I've been talking about this entire program to make the Daytona 500. It's definitely not impossible, but the challenge of making the race is far greater. Ty Dillon, Garrett Smithley, Timmy Hill, Noah Gregson must be the top finish in open car in their duel, or it'll be definitely game over. So they must be the top finish in open car in their duels, or they will not make the Great American Race no matter what. Coverage of the Blue-Green Vacations duel at Daytona will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a little tongue tied there. It's going to begin at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1.
Encourage everyone, be sure to tune into the race. It's going to be a really entertaining race. Set the field for the Daytona 500. Of course, we'll be back Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, for a grid live pre-race. We're going to preview the Xfinity and ARCA race, and then recap everything that happened in the Camping World Truck Series race. And then Sunday, 12 noon Eastern, Daytona 500 pre-race right here on the Grid Network. We're going to have Matt and Adam joining us for an exciting pre-race show. Definitely invite you to join us. Encourage you to visit Patreon, be like Colin, invest in the Grid Network, ensure we stay on the air throughout the 2021 racing season. Definitely, we're going to be getting more and more reports, especially from all the media with NASCAR, IndyCar, bringing you the latest news. And of course, if you have a dog or know somebody that needs a gift for their dog, Publis. Definitely 10% of all your purchases goes toward helping a homeless or sick dog. This is essentially something we here at the Grid Network support as well. And for being a Grid Network viewer, 10% discount. Link in the video description as well. Definitely visit Publis, and we encourage everyone to be part of the Patreon. Like, subscribe to the Grid Network right here on YouTube. I know we're just about to go off the air. Kobe, who do you think is going to win dual race number 1 and then dual race number 2?
Oh, Well, I'm not really sure who's gonna win the duels. To be honest, I didn't really expect that I was gonna have to make a pick on the air tonight. So for duel number one, I'm just gonna just go with the poll winner, Alex Bowman. Although I'm not really sure who's gonna win that at all. How about you for duel number one?
I was going to go with Bowman. I think Duel 1's going to be the safe, less chaotic race. I'll go ahead with Duel number 2. And my pick, I think it's going to be a big surprise. I think it's going to be chaotic. I would say that. But I think I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. I feel he's going to be a bit of surprise because some people think he's not going to be pushing, but I think he will, and he's going to get it.
Yeah, and I believe I'll go with somebody who you're probably not expecting. I think Kurt Busch is gonna take home duel number two.
That'll be really entertaining. Definitely encourage everyone watch the race, and of course, stay tuned to the Grid Network throughout Speed Week. We're very excited for the entire weekend. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, I'm Joe San Diego. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the races, and we'll see you next time.
Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Poblis. Poblis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Poblis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.